writing a book part 4. It's the fourth day in a row, and here we are with part 4. Um, this part, I have to tell the story of, oh, it's a big one. I wonder how long this is going to take. But basically, what happened, yesterday, I had a conversation with a friend about the book, she hadn't read the book, but like I kind of laid out the basic idea and I asked her a couple of the key questions and opened up this conversation between her and I, um, as far as like, kind of trying and experimenting with the process. Like, I really have been enjoying talking to Dolly about the book and like getting that momentum going through those conversations and then being able to write based on like what stands out to me after that. And so, yeah, like I offer this to my friend, like, hey, do you want to talk about this? And like, as long as you don't mind if I like take that momentum and like write about it in the book, some of it, if it makes sense, like, or not if it makes sense, but like if it feels good to put it in the book. And I did end up adding like multiple sections that came out of that conversation. Um, but in the course of that conversation, she asked me, like, we were having the conversation, just like kind of talking about the different points and swimming around inside these ideas. And she asks me, so where did this book come from? Like, what was the inciting incident? Like, where did you even come up with this idea? And I'm like, hmm, I don't know. I don't know. I just like got the title and opened the Word document, and I remember that. That's what I told in the beginning in the part 1 was like, what if it's an ebook? And that was like this floodgate, and like I go get my computer and I open a Word document and like the book was born. And since then, I think I'm on like day 8 maybe of working on it and have mostly worked on it every day because it's been fun to do and have not at all gone back to see where did this come from? Like, why? Like, I've just been so enjoying the momentum of how fun it feels to write and how naturally and effortlessly it's coming out. And oh, yeah. So I was like, I don't know. I'll have to look back. And I start flipping through my journal and I'm like, okay, well, I know it was on January 22nd because it was the day before this. And like, so I get back to that page in my journal and I find, oh, yep, there it is. There's the book title that I came up with, and there's a little note about maybe it's an ebook. And then I journaled, like, let's see, I have 2 questions that I came up with, and I'm like, okay, so what about this and what about this? And these were ideas of like, not that I know how to answer those questions, but that I think these are important questions related to the topic that I'm talking about. So, not important questions only for me, but important questions to pose to the reader for them to be able to discern and process their own answer to whatever these questions are. And I'll give you one of them. The very first one that came is, and this is like the thread that like I pulled on this thread and a whole book came out. So, you never know like which threads are gonna like freaking unravel into a whole book. But so the question is, when it's a choice between these 2 things, which is more valuable? The comfort of another person or the comfort of yourself? And I'm not talking about like, well, like both. Like I want both. And it's like, yeah, most people do. But let's say you're in the middle of a situation and you realize, holy shit, I can only take care of my own comfort or I can take care of their comfort. I can't see a way to do both at the same time. So in that situation, which do you choose? And my thoughts and my reflections off of this question was very much like it's not black and white. Like there are going to be some moments where you decide, I want to care for the comfort of another person because that's what's most important to me in this situation. There are going to be other moments where even though you have to sacrifice the comfort of another person, it makes the most sense to take care of your own comfort. So there is no right answer to that question. It's like, it depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on what exactly is going on. And so that question, like I said, like I pull at that thread, that was the very first thing I wrote into the Word document was this question. And I'm like circling my mind around, like, how do you choose? How do you know? I'm not saying this is the right one, this is the wrong one, but I am saying, how do you know which one to do? How do you know which one is the right one in any given situation? And I think there's a lot of people out there who live more in a black and white space where there is a right answer, where you have to keep the other person comfortable, where it's always bowing down to the comfort of another person. That's always the right answer. Or on the flip side, it's always the right answer to prioritize your own comfort and like fuck everybody else. And it's like, I don't think either one of those is what you want to go with, but that's just me, right? Like I can only pick my own truth. So like in my world, I'm realizing, wow, like really there are times where I do prioritize the comfort of other people. And then there are times where I do prioritize the comfort of myself. And the natural next question that I wrote in the book is, how do you know which one to do in any given moment? And so that is like a little bit more like where it came from as far as like the contemplation that even started this. But I want to back up before, because that was like, I came up with the title, and then here's like the main question that's spinning in my mind that, like, wow, like, is that really a whole book? I don't know. But like, here, let me write it in the thing. And, I'm at 23 pages now. So, like, but I want to back up to her question as far as like, where did this even come from? Like, where did you even come up with this idea to write this? And so I go back not to the book title, but like before that, like the page or two of journaling before that. And it is so powerful, right? This happened January 22nd, 2023, and the Aquarius new moon was January 21st, so just the day before. And this is where the journaling starts. I have such a powerful clarity around my views and beliefs and my view of the solution that would serve humanity, the Aquarius new moon. Like that's essentially what I predicted in my live stream like a month ago, that the Aquarius new moon was going to help us download a glimpse of our higher calling, of like, how could we contribute to the highest good of the all with our unique life experience? Like, what do you have to give? And then here I am, like, with these beliefs, with these views, with this perspective. Like, maybe that's not a tangible contribution yet, especially when I'm writing this paragraph. I hadn't even come up with the book idea yet, but I realized, like, gosh, I'm so clear. I'm so clear on how I think it works. And that's not to say it's black and white, like this is the right answer, but like I'm so clear on what I think is true. And from that place of such powerful clarity, that is essentially where the book came from. But the journaling goes on. This is the problem that I see fit to devote my life force energy to solving, or at least spending my time trying to solve it. Specifically, I'm talking about teaching individuals XYZ. Like, this is what I want to help them learn. And so I'm like kind of clarifying, like, this is what I want. This is what I want my communication. Like, this is the ripple effect that I want to create with my communication out of this clarity that I'm having. And then it occurs to me, it feels risky. It feels so risky to openly admit that part of my identity consists of this and this and this. It feels so risky. And like, I go on to explain that, this is how it feels, and this is the clarity that I have, and this is what I'm worried about, this is what I want. And it goes on to like basically like all of the fears and whatever, like kind of what I'm worried about happening. And then it raises the question. The super interesting scenario is when I have the choice between telling my truth or protecting the well-being of another. And that is when the book title came to me that I'm using so far. And after the book title came to me, there's a note that says, maybe this is an ebook? Question mark. And that was where the floodgates opened. And so it's like basically this book was born out of my own vulnerability. It was born from feeling really, really clear on my truth, but feeling like sharing this truth is very risky. And I might as well just tell you, like, the book title that came to me is The Art of Truth Telling. The Art of Truth Telling. And the reason I'm writing it is because I know what my truth is and I can't bring myself to tell it because it's so risky. And that opened up this concept of truth telling is not black and white. Truth telling is an art form. Truth telling has a shit ton to do with timing. Truth telling is complex. It's not black and white. It's knowing your truth is barely the first step. It's the second step as far as what I got written in the book. But yeah, like it's not the same as being ready to tell your truth. Knowing your truth is absolutely required, but knowing your truth does not equal telling your truth. There's a freaking, couple miles between those two different things. And so it really got me thinking of like, where does that risk come from? Why does this feel risky to think about telling this truth, to think about living from the center of this truth, like how I try to live from the center of all of my truths. And when I came up with this piece of my truth and thought about living from the center of it, everything inside of me screamed, no. No, you're not going to tell anybody that. It's way too risky. It's way too risky. And so that opened up this contemplation of like, is your goal to keep other people comfortable? Or is your goal to keep yourself comfortable? Is your goal to respect your own inner peace? Or is your goal to keep the outer peace? Like it opened up this contemplation. And from that contemplation, The Art of Truth Telling book title. And then maybe this is an ebook. Maybe it's only 10 pages instead of 200. Maybe I don't need 200 pages to describe the art of truth telling. Maybe it's only a 10-page endeavor. And so I open my laptop and I start writing. And like I said, now I'm up to, 7,400 words. And it started with my own personal self-exploration. And through that self exploration, coming to a piece of my truth more clearly than ever before. And in being able to see that truth more clearly than ever before, seeing the block that I had in front of that truth. Like I've talked on my channel several times about my 2021, the year of speaking truth, and how at the very beginning of my, this is my year of speaking truth. I'm going to speak all the truth. I'm going to say everything. And almost immediately I ran into like the first step is not speaking the truth. The first step is knowing what the truth is. And then once you know what the truth is, there's all of these steps in between before you're ever ready to say anything out loud. And so I feel like basically I have this truth. I have this truth that still to this point, I've only told it to like 2 or 3 different people. And even that, I've only shared this truth because of this book, because this book is helping me to process the pieces around the art of truth telling and helping me to get really, really clear in kind of like the separation between you deciding that you've done the right thing and others agreeing that you've done the right thing, and kind of like having a right relationship with both of those, like having a right relationship with yourself that says, I've done what's best for me in this moment based on what I think is true. And then also having a right relationship when other people may accuse you of harming them with your truth. That's where that sense of risk comes from. I identified as like, I'm worried about upsetting people and I don't want to upset people. I don't want to cause them harm. But at the same time, this is my truth. And so for me to live from the center of this, it's risky. It's risking upsetting other people who are offended by my truth. And so writing this book and like figuring out all of like kind of clarifying my views on all of the things that I've put in there so far has brought me to this place where I do feel like more fortified inside of myself for trusting the process of finding my truth inside of myself and the process of getting myself ready to tell it out loud and the stages that that entails. And like, I'm basically using this book to like clarify my own advice to somebody in my exact situation right now. And the book is very good because it's helping me move through being able to accept and begin to express this part of my truth, which is not easy. It's not a black and white thing like, oh, that's your truth, just say it. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think we're ready for that. And then it's like, okay, so how do you know? How do you know when you've found your truth? How do you know if you're ready to say it out loud or not? How do you get ready if you're not already ready? How do you know when you're ready enough? How do you gradually move through that process from, the very beginning, which is basically, I don't know what my truth is. I realized that during my 2021 year of speaking truth. Like, step number one is that you do have to become conscious of what your truth is. And if you've never spoken it out loud before, then, and you've only like imagined it inside your mind, I would say you're not really fully conscious of it yet. It's still in more of an unconscious state. Until you force yourself to say it out loud or write it down on a page, until you move it into the physical, it's not fully conscious. And so like even my state of like writing it in my journal, I skipped over a lot of that because I'm not ready. I'm not ready to vocalize this truth. It's hard. It's risky. But even writing it in my journal was one of those steps. Even being willing to bring it out of myself, even just so that I could see it, like that was a process of bringing it more into consciousness. And that step of bringing that truth into consciousness, like 3 paragraphs later, I have my book title. Now I have a manuscript with 23 pages in it. Like, bringing our truth into consciousness is a huge first step. And then there are multiple steps that are still going to unfold ever before you get to the part of actually telling your truth out loud. And so the art of truth telling, this is the book I'm writing. This is where it came from, a deeply vulnerable sense of feeling like I can't live from the center of this truth, which that goes against my values. Some of my top values have to do with integrity and living in alignment with who I truly am. And so to know who I am and not feel free to live that it really got me thinking. And out of that contemplation comes the art of truth telling. So it really, again, I share all of this to go back to what is the point? What is the point of writing the book? Is it to have a book at the end of all of that? Or is it for you to move through a process? Is it to support you in the process you may be already moving through? Maybe that book never sees the light of day, but maybe it helps you fortify yourself to live more in alignment with who you are, to move inch by inch closer and closer to the life that you want to be living. Maybe writing the book helps you to process the things that need to be processed, to externalize and bring into consciousness the pieces that need to be externalized and looked at from that external point of view for the benefit of getting clearer and clearer and clearer on what even is what you want. What even is what you want? What are the arms and legs? And what I'm finding is, again, like, I don't know that this book is ever even going to see the light of day, but already it is changing my life. It's changing my life. It's giving me the confidence to live this truth. right? Like in the last 8 days, I went from everything inside of me screaming, no, don't ever say this out loud to anybody, to I have told 3 people in my life who feel very, very safe to tell. Like it feels safe to tell them. But the only reason I can even take advantage of those safe spaces is because I found the safety inside of myself. I found my right relationship with it first. And so this is all kind of like the steps that are outlined in the book. Again, maybe that book will never even see the light of day. Maybe you'll never even get to read the book, but oh my gosh, how helpful it is just to write the book, just to even go through the process of getting to relate to myself in this way. It is truly delicious to see what I think as I pour it onto the pages. Um, so yeah, I wonder like what are those pieces? What are those blocks that are inside of you right now? And could you stand to explore, like either in your journal or even like open up a Word document and start exploring, what is this? What is this? It actually leads me to one more point of like, when we here's my own experience. When we find our truth, when we finally become conscious of it, like I know when I started the year speaking truth and then I was like, shit, I don't even know what my truth is. I don't know it well enough to say it out loud. Like this is so different than I thought it was going to be. But like once we do become conscious of our truth, at that point, we have a whole range of options. We don't have to jump straight to telling it out loud. Actually, there are like multiple steps in between. And I kind of forgot where I was going with that, to be perfectly honest with you. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The block. The block. Like when I find, like, hey, here's a piece of my truth. How cool is that? And then everything inside of me is like, no, don't say it out loud. It's risky. They'll come for you with the pitchforks and the don't say this. Don't ever tell anybody. You can never tell anybody that truth. Like this is my first reaction and I feel like blocked. Like, yeah, no, that can't be expressed. But my value is to live my truth. And here I am blocked. And so early on in 2021, I felt like I was failing my year of speaking truth because I was so blocked up to speaking my truth. And now with this, it's like the only reason this book, The Art of Truth Telling, is even getting written is because I was so significantly blocked from living this truth. Like, here's my truth. Here's this gigantic barricade that says, do not pass go. Do not step one toe into speaking this truth. Do not. And it was that block that is writing this book. And so it makes you wonder, like, those blocks, those pesky little obstacles to our growth and to our progress, and like those little things that show up to slow us down. Do you see how if I had not been blocked, I would have taken this new truth, I would have incorporated it into my being, I would have begun living from the center of it, same as I do all my other truths as soon as I discover them, as quickly as I can once I discover them. But because this truth was so risky, because there was such a big wall in front of me when it came to climbing over that big wall to living from the center of this truth, going through that process and writing this book at the same time, like, oh, again, it makes me think like this might be the one that actually gets finished and sees the light of day, because I gotta say, like, I believe wholeheartedly in what I'm writing in this book because I'm living it right now and it is helping me. So it's not, again, I don't want to finish it and publish it so that it can help other people, but I am leaning towards like, I do believe it'll be finished, mostly because it already is. I just keep adding to it because it's fun to do that. And someday when it's not fun to do that, I'm going to stop adding to it and I'm going to publish it as it is at that time. And that'll be chunk number 1. And then, maybe there's chunk number 2. Maybe there's The Art of Truth Telling, volume 2. Like, who the hell cares? Right now, this book is giving me life. This book is like me building a ladder rung by rung by rung to crawl up over the gigantic wall that I ran into as I discovered this new truth. This book is the ladder to get over the block and live from the center of that truth. And that, like, again, I'm not even necessarily talking about like how cool it is that it's going to help all these other people. I'm talking about like, holy shit, like I feel like so proud that I even discovered it and I'm seeing the benefit in my own life. Like, I didn't consciously know all of these steps. I didn't consciously understand the art of truth telling. I knew when it's a choice between which is more valuable, the comfort of another or the comfort of yourself. I knew that this is not a black and white question. I knew that there are times where I want to live from the center of my truth because that's more comfortable. And then there are times where I'm going to keep myself on this side of that wall because I'm going to protect the comfort of other people. I'm not ready to rock the boat yet. I'm not ready to bat at the beehive just yet. I'm going to leave myself protected. Maybe this is like actually still protecting the comfort of myself. But also, like, mostly I'm telling myself is I'm protecting the comfort of the other people by not upsetting them with my truth. So, like, you see how the blocks, I think they're the best part. I think is the truth that I'm coming to is the takeaway from all of this is like maybe the book doesn't have to come out of like what you consciously already are like a rock star at. Like what if the book came from the current block that you're trying to work yourself through? What if, like, the book is just a tool? Like, writing the book is just a tool to work through the block, and the outcome of the book writing process really isn't the point. Like, it's just a way to get yourself through the block. It's a way to get yourself up and over the wall that's standing in your way. And, like, at that point, what if the block, going back to the Aquarius new moon and like what do you have to contribute to the greater good of the all, to the highest good of the all? Like here, I think, my powerful clarity around my views and my beliefs and like I feel like I know the solution that would serve humanity, and that led to running into this block. It's like, what if that block is my contribution? What if, like, me even possessing this risky truth, what if the whole point of this risky truth being mine is so that I'll be blocked, so that I can write the book about how to unblock myself, so that maybe other people use it, maybe I don't ever even publish it. It doesn't matter. But like, what if the art of truth telling is my contribution to society, at least at this moment, and the reason I even have the contribution to make is because of the block? It's not because of the parts that are easy. It's because of the parts that are hard. I don't know. What do you think?